Yeah, this is damning. It really is. I gotta tell you. You see this quote. Quote, it wasn't a championship locker room. Wow. Wow.
Aja Wilson just fired shots at her former teammates who left her in free agency, and the entire WNBA world is buzzing. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are suddenly being called championship contenders. Did free agency just flip the league upside down? What is going on? Let's break it all down.
They did that without every single teammate along the way. And I'm so grateful to be able to play with just, and I said it on the broadcast before, just selfless women. They give it their all every single day, and they're their pure selves. And that's what I love the most. And I'm trying to...
Well, that clip didn't age well. From, I love playing with my teammates, to, it wasn't a championship locker room. Quite the turnaround. After watching her entire squad pack up and leave in free agency, Aja Wilson finally spoke up. And in true Aja fashion, she made sure to call everybody out on the way out the door. Her exact words? It wasn't a championship locker room.
Quote, it wasn't a championship locker room, Wilson said. I mean, out of the gate, going into training camp, I was like, we ain't got it. Wow. Okay. That's crazy. I always told myself, we're going to get it. We're going to check each box, but we didn't. Oh, man. Unbelievable.
So, Aja, what was it then? A daycare? Last I checked, the Aces had all the talent in the world, yet when it came time to re-sign, players bolted like their contracts were on fire. What does she really mean by not a championship locker room? Is she saying the Aces weren't built to win? Because, they did. Twice. So, was the team never actually built like that? If I'm a fan, I'd be staring at my Aja Wilson jersey like, wait, were we frauds this whole time? Were those championships real? Or was there something deeper going on behind the scenes? Because this just isn't adding up.
For KP and Aja, just how important has Chelsea been in this matchup for you guys?
Come on, Andy, you know the question for that. You know the answer for that. What do you mean how important? She's our point guard. She's our leader. So come on now, Andy, you know the answer to that. Chelsea's very important to us.
From saying players were important to calling it not a championship locker room. Wow. Is she really saying everyone who left just wasn't built for greatness? Alicia Clark, a veteran and defensive specialist, gone. Sydney Coulson, her best friend. Even she didn't stay. Now, I'm no detective, but if everyone who mattered on the team eventually walked away, maybe it's time to look in the mirror and ask, am I the problem? Because at some point, it can't just be everyone else.
The Las Vegas Aces have lost basically their entire team. Almost their entire team is gone from last year. They've lost basically everyone. If we want to look at the Vegas Aces team from last year, who's still remaining? The MVP? Jackie Young? Chelsea?
Asia, sweetheart, it's looking real lonely over there. Y'all went from ruling the cafeteria to sitting at the forgotten table in the back. Let's be real. The energy in that locker room shifted the moment everyone realized they were just supporting cast members in the Aja Wilson show. She's out here stacking MVPs, soaking up all the praise, while the rest of the team is expected to smile and be grateful just to stand beside her. But guess what? They weren't feeling it anymore. The vibe changed, the chemistry cracked, and suddenly, that so-called championship culture doesn't look so solid after all.
Boy, was I in shock when I just read that ESPN has reported that Sydney Coulson is signing with the Indiana Fever. I am so curious about what Aja Wilson has to say. I can only imagine that it is, very professional. That was not on my bingo.
Chelsea Gray carried the Aces' entire playoff run, yet somehow, all anyone ever talked about was Aja Wilson this, Aja Wilson that, like she did it all alone. But nah, the team saw what was happening and they got tired of it. So when free agency hit, they did what was best for them. Newsflash: Asia. Not everyone wants to spend their career playing second fiddle, especially after getting thrown under the bus on the way out. And you know who's really about to feel it? Kelsey Plum. Oh yeah, she's gone now too. Poor Kelsey. Imagine waking up, looking around the locker room, and realizing everyone who made that team great just vanished overnight. Asia really thought she ate with that, not a championship locker room line, but the real joke, watching that dynasty crumble in real time.
Because in comparison to other teams, this is one of the weakest teams there has been. This is genuinely one of the weakest, weakest teams in comparison to other teams that could win a championship. Like, this team is not as good as the Chicago Sky 2021. They have one better player. That might be it. Chicago Sky 2021 was at least.
So, what now, Asia? Gonna prove everyone wrong and win another ring with half a roster? Or are we about to witness the fastest downfall of a WNBA super team? One thing's certain, everyone who left is about to thrive, while the Aces scramble to hold on to what's left of their dynasty.
There is a huge thing that you all have to keep in mind is that the Las Vegas Aces do not have a GM right now. They let go of their GM a couple months ago, and they have not put anyone in that place. And so, hey, Nikki Fargas and Becky Hammond are trying to make some wonders without an actual GM. So let's get into specifically what has been happening. So the latest departures for the Las Vegas Aces include 2 heavy hitters off the bench and 2 former 2023 and 2024 6 players.
Imagine leaving a team for a fresh start, new opportunities, maybe even some peace of mind, only for Asia Wilson to throw shade like a total solar eclipse. She really sat there and basically said, "Oh, so y'all left? Kelsey Plum and Sydney Colson, you're fake for that. Ma'am, do you pay their bills? Do you sign their contracts? Or are you just mad that not everyone wants to be part of your little Aces clique?" It's giving bitter acts. It's giving, "I thought we had something special." It's giving, "Why would you leave me?" And for what? Because players chose to go somewhere else? Newsflash: Asia. Not everyone wants to be stuck in Vegas playing under your ego. Some people like fresh air. Some people like change. Some people prefer teams that don't act like a high school Mean Girls squad. And let's be real, the way she said it was just plain rude. Imagine packing your bags, excited for a new chapter, only to hear Asia throwing little jabs, questioning your loyalty like she's the WNBA's queen. Not everyone's here for that. And clearly, they showed her exactly that by walking away.
Bailey taught her that a winning team should, quote, look, sound, and feel a certain way. I gotta tell you, there's a lot that one could take out of that right there. Wilson said that the Aces didn't meet those standards.
Let's talk about that MVP real quick. Because, Asia makes sure everybody knows she won it. Like, girl, we get it. You got the trophy. Congrats. But that doesn't make you the moral compass of the league. You don't get to decide who stays, who leaves, or who's still worthy of your little Aces friendship bracelet. And can we take a second to appreciate the hypocrisy? If the Aces had signed someone from another team, would Asia be preaching loyalty? Nope. She'd be celebrating like it's another Vegas pool party. But the moment players leave her team, suddenly it's, "Oh, you all left Kelsey and Sydney? That's crazy." The double standard is wild. Like, girl, you're not the commissioner. You're just another player. And last time I checked, basketball is still a professional sport, not a lifelong sisterhood where you pinky promise to stay together forever. Let these people live their lives. And let's be real. She's acting like Kelsey Plum and Sydney Colson are helpless. Newsflash: Kelsey is going to be just fine. She's still got her game, her skills, and a whole fan base that loves her. And Sydney? That woman is going to be cracking jokes and collecting checks no matter what team she's on. With Caitlin Clark in the mix now, it's going to be even more fun. They're good. They're not out here crying over these moves. So why is Asia making it her problem?
Vegas, we got the dub. Heading back. See y'all on Tuesday.
Maybe Asia's just frustrated that the Aces are falling apart. Maybe she's realizing people don't want to be supporting characters in the Asia Wilson show anymore. Or maybe, just maybe, she's feeling the pressure of knowing she's not as untouchable as she once believed. Funny how nobody questioned the Aces championship culture when Sydney Coulson was there. She was cracking jokes, keeping the team chemistry strong, and, oh yeah, helping win 2 titles. But now that she's with Caitlin Clark and the Fever, suddenly, it's not a championship locker room? So does Sydney's championship experience only matter when it benefits Asia?
All right, the Indiana Fever just did it again. And what I told you, they was not done yet. They just found Caitlin Clark, backup point guard, and Sydney Colston, who will be playing in Athletes Unlimited this week. She came from the Aces. She signed a 1-year deal with the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever are on a mission, and they are not.
Newsflash: Sydney Coulson has just as many rings as Asia Wilson. 2. But now that she's in Indiana, her championship DNA suddenly doesn't count? Yeah, we're not buying that. Sydney brings experience, leadership, and unmatched energy to the Fever. She's not just there to play. She's mentoring, guiding, and making sure Caitlin Clark has everything she needs to secure that first championship. And let's be real, Coulson's value isn't just about stats. She's a locker room leader, a culture builder, and exactly the kind of veteran you want next to a generational talent like Clark. Indiana didn't just get a player, they got a championship mindset to help lead the way.
Fever with breaking news. Can y'all stop, please? Sydney Coulson, another big signing. They got their backup point guard, a 2-time champion, so now they got even more past champions on their team. Indiana Fever ain't playing around. They are not messing around. They getting their starting 5 together and they backups. Now you got legitimate points coming off the bench. Now you got a legitimate point guard that's not going to turn the ball over like Erica Wheeler did most of the time. Erica Wheeler.
Meanwhile, Asia Wilson is looking around like, what do I do with this new team? Girl, I don't know, but it's not looking too good. The Aces roster got shaken up, the chemistry feels off, and that super team energy? It's fading fast. Maybe, just maybe, Asia should have been a little nicer to her own championship teammates before they started walking out the door. Because right now, it looks like everyone is leaving that so-called championship culture behind. Let's not forget, Asia was out here acting like she was the sole reason the Aces won those rings. But funny how the moment players start leaving, the whole foundation starts looking shaky. On the other side, Indiana is looking real, promising. Caitlin Clark brings leadership, Aaliyah Boston dominates the paint, and now they've got veterans like Sydney Coulson to make sure this team is built for success. The chemistry is about to be top tier, the energy unmatched, and, oh yeah, don't be surprised when the Fever are right in the mix come playoff time.
Here with you guys today, the Indiana Fever have dominated and have won the WNBA offseason, WNBA free agency. It's not done yet. In fact, free agency and the offseason has just begun. But with the moves that Kelly Krauskopf has made, with the moves that Amber Cox has made, the difference in last year's roster to this year's roster, last year's staff to this year's staff, last year's personnel to this year's personnel, last year's front office to this year's front office. 2025, I don't want to say championship or bust, but the Indiana Fever definitely are number 1 on a short list of teams that can win the WNBA final.
Aja Wilson has a habit of dodging blame when things go south. If something goes wrong, it's never on her. It's the locker room, the vibes, the universe, Mercury in retrograde, or whatever excuse fits the moment. Last season, she sat there saying, "Man, this just doesn't feel like a championship locker room." Well, Aja, if you thought last year was rough, you might want to brace yourself, because the Aces, they're done. Cooked. That super team energy is long gone. Now, They look like a group of people who just realized the dinner bill isn't getting split evenly. Meanwhile, the players who left are thriving, proving that maybe the problem wasn't the roster, it was something deeper.
What's up, Fever fans? DB here. So happy to be here, so excited. I'll see you guys in...
The players who left, they're living their best lives, like escaping a toxic group chat and suddenly finding peace. Meanwhile, Aja Wilson is still searching for someone else to blame. But let's talk about a real problem she's about to face. Caitlin Clark. Oh yeah, she's coming for that MVP. And if you thought the Fever were just Caitlin, think again. Indiana is stacked. They've got shooters, they've got defense, and they've got a squad ready to shake up the league. Every other team? Get ready, because the Fever are about to make life miserable.
What do you mean Sydney Colson is joining the Indiana Fever? What does that mean? Indiana is just being so fucking greedy right now. They took DB, they took Natasha. Now they got Sydney Colson. Like, why would they take Sydney?
The Las Vegas Aces are in a free fall, and honestly, it's glorious to watch. Aja Wilson and her squad went from being the so-called super team to looking like background extras in a basketball movie where the underdogs take over. And speaking of underdogs, let's talk about the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark and company are cooking, and you can feel the shift happening. They're getting stronger, smarter, and hungrier. Meanwhile, Aja is out here pretending everything's fine while her team crumbles like a stale cookie. Indiana, though? They're stacking up like an action movie lineup. Caitlin Clark is pulling up from the logo. Aaliyah Boston is dominating the paint. And, oh yeah, Sophie Cunningham just entered the chat. You know what that means? Nobody's touching Caitlin without consequences. Sophie's about to be out there throwing elbows and collecting technicals like their reward points. But let's be real. The Fever don't just want to win, they want to take over. The Aces? They're looking like last season's news. Their so-called dynasty is cracking, their fans are getting quiet, and Aja Wilson is probably somewhere crafting a passive-aggressive tweet. The league is shifting, and Indiana is leading the charge.
Oh, do the Fever even have any more roster spots open? How many folks are you guys going to sign? What is painfully clear, and what I've talked about in my other videos, is that the league, the Fever organization are doing everything they should do to make sure their star is happy and that their star gets a ring. I didn't know they were going to load up like this, though. Dewana Bonner, Sydney Colson, just re-signed Kelsey Mitchell. You already have Aaliyah Boston. You have Caitlin. You have...
So, Aja, if last year didn't feel like a championship locker room, what do you think this season is going to feel like? Spoiler alert, not like a title run either. Somebody needs to tell Aja to take a seat because calling out former teammates? Yeah, that's not leadership. That's just salty behavior. And honestly, it's not a good look. Aces fans, buckle up. It's about to be a long, bumpy season. Hope you're ready for the ride. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.